He said he wanted to meet me at his place to sit down and resolve our differences. I said okay, I'll be there. I can move on only if I end this chapter of my life once and for all. My dad drove me, Maya, and my mom to Roy's place. Roy, Kim, Yami, and his uncle were there. I know it's silly, but I hoped Roy understood his mistakes and would apologize to me. And boy, was I wrong. When we all sat down, Roy started yelling at me for making a scene at the wedding dress store. He went on to tell me how Kim went missing, how she was so upset because of the things my mom had said to her that she could have harmed herself, how his mom and he had to drive around the city all night in search of Kim, and how I was so heartless not to answer Yami's call. I calmly asked him where I was that night. I, like Kim, hadn't answered my phone too. I, too, was upset because of our fight. Did the thought of my well-being ever cross his mind? He went quiet for a few seconds, then tried to say something, fumbling his words. It didn't even make any sense. I told him I now know who is more important to him, not me. His uncle intervened to speak over me to my dad, saying, "Kids these days fight over the smallest things. I'm sure you can make your daughter understand how married life requires sacrifices and isn't like in the movies." My dad told him it's my daughter's life, and she only gets to decide if the issue is small or big, so she should speak to her fiance. I looked back at Roy and told him that I know that I am the side chick, and your sister is the main chick. Any person with even a shred of self-respect won't be fine with being her own husband's side chick. I said you are free to marry your sister at the dream wedding that she has planned. At this moment, I saw his face turn red, and before I could understand what was going on, Roy had slapped me across my face so hard that my inner cheek and my nose started to bleed. My dad punched him in the face, got him in a chokehold, and continued punching on his guts. Yami, my mom, and his uncle were trying to separate my dad and Roy. Maya hugged me tightly and was tending to my bleeding nose when Kim yelled like a banshee, blaming me for something. I'm unable to recall what she exactly said. Even Maya doesn't remember it properly. I think it was on the lines of "I wish you had never come into our lives and made it a living hell," while marching up to me with her hand in the air to hit me. Maya held Kim's hand before she could hit me, and backhand bitch slapped her. Kim fell to the floor and screamed like she was being skinned alive. By this time, the neighbors came in and separated everyone. The police and ambulance arrived a few minutes later. Roy was bleeding from his mouth, and his face looked bluish. The ambulance took him away. I was taken to another ambulance. After I was treated, I was taken to the police station where Maya and Roy's family was seated, but Roy wasn't there. The police took my statement and asked me if I wanted to press charges against Roy. I said yes. They informed me that his tooth had been knocked out and one of his ribs was broken, so there was a chance he might press charges against my dad. By midnight, we were all allowed to go home. This morning, my friends came over and we all had our breakfast together. My parents are over the moon, but they hide their happiness from me as they know I'm still hurting. They look like they'd aged backward. Roy has been discharged from the hospital. I hope he and his sister live happily ever after.
Now you can watch the third part by pressing share and more.